For me, motherhood comes above everything else. Then wife and daughter, and then entrepreneur.
1 out of 10 women, they drop working after they become moms. What do you suggest that women who are willing to start again, how they should approach this?
I think the biggest thing that we need is a change in attitude.
I was just doing a research and I read like almost 23% of women in India experience the postpartum depression. Did you experience anything like that?
So yes, I absolutely did. It's a part a woman goes through. We have so many hormonal changes. I was one of my first few friends to have a baby. So like a lot of my friends were either single or had
Experience.
or not had children. So I was like, who do I go to, you know? Everybody's reading that book, that what to expect when you're expecting.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your Bible. Welcome to motherhood. You are not going to sleep for the rest of your life.
Chinese philosophy calls it the yin and the yang. Hindu philosophy calls it Shiv or Shakti. And working women call it, well, just life. Women experience hormonal changes annually, menstrual cycle changes monthly, and the constant question of balancing life and work, well, daily. It is to celebrate this, to achieve, coupled with the humility to give, that we bring to you with Maatehood with Priyanka Raina. On today's episode, we bring to you a woman who has not only mastered the art of getting the yin and the yang together, she's also done it while sprinkling fashion around. We talk to one of the best designers that India has seen and worn, and my dear, dear friend, Payal Singhal, whose work I have admired and cherished for years. Welcome to Maatehood, Payal. It's such a pleasure to have you here finally.
I know. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking your time out and being here today. I have known you for a few years now and you're such a wonderful human being. I have seen like how hard you work and the brand you have built, Payal Singhal, the clothes, everything. I'm a true fan of everything you do.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the Maate in you. So I'm super excited. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm excited. Actually, I would also like to say I have known you for a few years and you're one of my favorite humans. I just connected with you from the first time I met you.
Likewise.
And I love your brand.
Thank
I
you.
just love what you're doing with Maate. And I champion it everywhere I go. But thank
A
you.
true friend. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And how's family, your son? I would love to know more about the motherhood side of you today. So tell me more about it.
So, I mean, my son is 15 now, and I started my label before he was born. I was 20, actually very young. I was only 22 when I started my label. And so my first baby is the brand Payal Singhal, and then my second one is my son Sumer. He's now in the 10th standard, so it's a challenging year because, you know, you have to keep your grades up and stuff like that. My husband, you know, he's my college sweetheart, and we've been married now 20 years. He also joined the family business about almost, I would say, 10-12 years back. So it's one great big mix of you know, personal and professional life that goes on in our house. We have my mom and me, you know, have been business partners from the beginning. It was originally my dad's business, which then I joined, and then my mom and me became partners. And then 10-12 years back, my husband joined, and then a few years back, my brother joined the business.
Nice.
So yeah, we are one big crazy fashion family, as they say. And yeah, raising my son has been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I know it's very cliched, and people talk about how being a mom, Maate, is like the most fulfilling experience.
Absolutely.
But truly,
I think the one who
It
has
is.
experienced it can
totally understand it.
I can totally understand it. But tell me about your early days, like the education, how it's been for you, and when you got interested in the creative side of it and starting a label yourself.
So, you know, I come from a film and fashion kind of family. My grandfather, Mr. J.P. Singhal, was a very well-known artist, and he was then discovered by Mr. Raj Kapoor, who wanted to use his paintings as an inspiration for the movie Satyam Shivam Sundaram. And in fact, in the opening credits of the movie is Bade Papa's paintings.
Wow.
And Zeenat Aman was styled on his paintings. And that's how my grandfather entered films, where he started to photograph actors and actresses in his Mr. J.P. Singhal style, which became iconic, which was, that kind of village Adivasi girl, very sensual. So I kind of grew up with, just art and film all over the house.
Yeah.
Then my dad was really young, I think 17 or 18, when he started his own fashion brand from my grandfather's garage.
Wow.
Buying one sari, cutting 4 shirts out of it and selling them. This is in the 70s. And then he started India's first retail chain store called London Fashions. So prior to London Fashions, you had to either buy clothes from smugglers or, those guys used to bring clothes from abroad, or go abroad yourself. But this was the first ready-to-wear brand. And of course, I was creatively inclined. I was sketching from the age of 10, 11.
Yeah.
And then at 15, Shoppers Stop was launching in India. So to launch Shoppers Stop, they ran a national level contest in the newspaper calling all designers, no education required, no background, whatever. And I was 15 and I applied. I was in 10th standard. I applied for it and I got selected, the first stage. And then I got selected to make the garment. And I reached the show with my dad because they only give us 2 passes. Aishwarya Rai was wearing my outfit and then I got announced as the winner. And I was 15 years old.
That must be so motivating for you.
It
from
was
such a young
surreal.
age. Yeah.
I can't even explain it. It was just almost like a sign from God that even if you're confused, because I was confused between art and fashion, and I wanted to be a painter, or I felt fashion was for my artistic side, it was too commercial. So those days you have these kind of ideas that I want to be like a broke artist, And now I fully want to be a very successful entrepreneur. So life changes. But yeah, that's how I got into fashion. I went to fashion school. I'm half Marwadi, by the way, and half Banya. So I think I've had an entrepreneurial streak in me without realizing. So I was very eager to start my business. I was not lazy, or I didn't want to just sit and enjoy what my parents had built. So I told my dad that I'll join your business, but I want my own label. At 21, I had that kind of...
That clarity of thought,
that I wanted designer label. Because my parents had gone more into retailing and wholesaling of more either Western or ready to wear. But I wanted a designer brand. And that's how I am here today, celebrating 25 years of being in the business.
That's such an inspiring example of knowing from a very young age what your passion is and what you're inclined towards and following that. So
now I was very lucky, very
really
lucky.
Amazing.
Yeah. Because I have friends still today who are kind of finding their calling, and they always tell me that because it sometimes feels like, oh God, my whole life I've just been working, I started working at a very young age. But I wanted to, so it was not like anyone forced me to. I was making clothes at 18 and going to stores and they were selling them, and I was using that as pocket money, extra pocket money. But I used to always think of it as, oh my God, I've just been working my whole life. But they were like, we still don't know what our true calling is.
Absolutely. So, and it may change along the line.
And it can,
I mean, you can be inclined to something, been doing that for good 10, 15 years, and at some point you feel like, okay, now I'm done with this and I want to get started with something else.
So absolutely.
That can also happen, has happened with me.
Yeah. And I think it's going to happen to me because I think I will go back to art. Getting this very strong because started feeling it in COVID because I had time. And I will. I'm definitely thinking that I will be kind of going back to that passion also.
Very interesting. What age you became a mother, and did you always have those maternal instincts? Were you very maternal and wanted to be a mom, or this is something that you just embraced when you realized that you're going to be a mom?
I never thought of it, but I had my son at 32. I got married at 26. I mean, my husband was working in New York, so I moved there. So the first few years, I was just playing house. It was so much fun, There was no plan, and we thought we were very young. Our parents were like, get married. So when we got married, we were like, dude, we're just too young to have a baby, yet. And we were just enjoying our few years in New York. And then I started to get the maternal instincts. It was very organic. There was no thought process. parents also didn't force, like, have kids or anything like that. And I think we started planning around when I was 30. Unfortunately, I had a miscarriage before. So it was nothing, it was very okay. It was a miscarriage, whatever. I didn't even think like, oh, do I have a maternal instinct? But then I started to get it. And then when this happens, then it becomes like, I'm dying to have a baby, you know? It was that. And Sumer, my son, was truly a blessing, you know, and it was the most beautiful phase. I think, again, women will tell you very cliched, but being pregnant is the most beautiful phase of a woman's life. Whatever. So it was beautiful. Like, even though I was very nauseous the entire 9 months and bedridden for a bit because I was long over term and all those fun things happened to me. But it was a lovely, beautiful, my son was born in New York. So I had a very different kind of, you know, first year with him. But yeah, it was just amazing. And and you know, another funny, interesting thing I have to tell you is that I really wanted a baby girl because, you know, I'm in fashion. So I was like, I didn't know whether I was going to have 1 or 2. I had not thought about it then. We were at my 5th month sonogram, and my husband casually asked the lady who was doing the sonogram that, so at what month can you tell, you know, the gender of the baby, which is generally asking. And she
was
goes,
the month?
Yes. And then she goes, I know, it's a boy. And I started to cry because I wanted a girl. But I have to tell you now that I am a boy's mom. I don't know if I would be able to do it any other way.
So different.
Yeah.
The boys and moms, oh God,
Yeah.
that relationship is just so cuddly and so warm.
I mean,
I just unexplainable.
My husband feels so left out. So it's like, he's like always conspire. And my son is a lot like me. You know, we have the same interests. And
Yeah.
He wants to be a filmmaker, and we both love the same kind of movies. So I watch with him. So it's just been the most beautiful journey for me. And for me, motherhood comes above everything else. Like, being a mom is the number one priority, then wife and daughter, and then entrepreneur. So it's like that.
I can totally relate with that. And I think they can really make you so powerful, make you feel so powerful, but at the same time make you feel so emotional.
Yes.
It's
So
like within
so
few
powerful.
Seconds you can be from here to here
Yeah.
with your kids, and it's just
Totally.
I mean, only one can experience themselves. It's not something you can explain or prepare somebody for.
Absolutely.
But you were running such a successful business, and you're following your passion, something you wanted to do since a very young age, starting your own label and so busy expanding it, scaling it up. Did you have a second thought that I don't want to be a mom, or I want to wait for it, or this is not the right time to do it?
No, never. In fact, you know, as our parents always say that you kids think too much. Our generation actually was the first generation which started to think about these things. I have a lot of friends who don't have kids. They've made conscious decisions, and I totally respect it. But our parents would always say that, what is all this to think about? Kids get raised on their own.
Yeah.
Well, they don't understand the kids of today, what it takes an army.
Yeah.
But in their generation, how we were raised, we just grew up, you know, like there was no thought of like, oh, I have to financially prepare for my child or any of those things. No. So I always wanted to, I think it was like the next step, because it's typical. It's like, when are you getting married? Now, when are you having your kid? Now, when are you having your second kid? But I think I did make a conscious decision not to have a second child. That was on me and my husband, because, you know, I was older. And I'd had a slightly tough pregnancy, and I was extremely conscious of the fact that I don't want to bring in another human being into this world. So that was definitely something I did think about. That I don't want to bring another human being into the world who I will not be able to be healthy for, or be able to carry, you know, properly, or like have time for, because business was expanding and becoming big. One thing which I have to say is that I don't know why people don't understand that we bring that child into this world. It is not their choice.
No.
So it is your responsibility, you know. And I
100%.
feel like I've seen this, like where sometimes people act like, you know, you're doing a favor to your child. Not at all. You it's a
You owe
selfish
them.
desire to bring
Yeah.
a baby into this world.
Yeah.
So you have to see that desire through. So we wanted to give him the best, and we wanted to, and I think touch wood, we have raised a very loving, empathetic child, which was the most important thing to us. And we were able to do that because my son is never not without a parent or a family member.
Yeah.
Whether we were living in New York or in Bombay, we live, separately from the parents and in-laws, like we live in our
Yeah.
own house. But there is never a time my son is home without a parent or a grandparent at home.
Yeah.
So that could be, some of the things are possible when you kind of plan for it.
Absolutely.
Maybe if I had two, I would be a little bit all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, how it happened. So it was not a thought of never having one, but yes, for the second one, I said, I think we should think about this, and I think we made the right decision. So
Yeah, I mean, what is right for you, only you know. And
Yeah, exactly.
What
Each
works
one
for you may not work for somebody else.
Absolutely.
And so it's a decision for you to make.
Absolutely.
You have to
Like
be
there are
aware of
people who've
that.
decided not to have children.
Yeah.
There are people who've decided to have one. I have lots and lots of friends who have a single child now.
Yeah.
And then a lot of ones have the perfect hum do hamare do, which I love because we were like me and my brother,
Yeah,
perfect,
yeah.
family we had. But yeah, life changes, things change, times change, and we're very happy, And
Yeah.
for me, the beautiful thing was that my brother had a daughter. So I was
okay.
like, I have my complete family,
Yeah, yeah, they have each other.
They have each other, and
Yeah.
we don't even call them cousins, we just say our brother and sister. So
Of course, and that is such a beautiful bond children form with each other.
yes, yes.
How was it during the pregnancy time? You were away from India
Yeah.
and you were full-time working.
Yeah.
So how were you able to take care of yourself and working at the same time? And you said it was a difficult
Yes,
pregnancy.
it was. I was first of all very nervous because I'd had a miscarriage before. So I was extremely, and first time parent, first time mom,
Yeah.
and alone in New York because my mom couldn't come at that time. She came for the delivery part.
Yes.
So the first few months I was completely by myself, and my husband was working. So I wasn't working. I had a store in New York, so I had people to run it. But of course, I didn't need to go to an office every day. So I could work out of home. So that was easy. But yeah, the nausea and just being nervous and just constantly worrying that something will go wrong. So I wanted to be as cautious as possible. So it was hard. But I did come to Bombay when I was allowed to fly, and I spent a few months in Bombay with my family, which was very nice to get pampered and get taken care of. And then I went back just in that, again, you have that cutoff time for flying. So I went back because my husband was there. I think I was more nervous than I was sick, Like I think my body was not doing as badly as I was imagining because I was just so nervous because of what had happened. But
As the first time as well. Yeah.
as first
Yeah.
time, not having this thing. And the doctors and the gynacs and all are very different than the ones here. Here they're really nurturing and they hold your hand through it. And usually it's a family doctor you've known for years.
Yes,
They've delivered you and now you're, you know what I mean? It goes on through generations.
Yes.
There I'm like,
You can pick up the phone
Yeah.
anytime and speak with them.
I had an
They were-
Italian gynac. I remember,
Yeah.
when I was one day complaining to her, I was like, "Oh, doctor, I can't sleep at night." She was like, "Welcome to motherhood. You are not going to sleep for the rest of your life." This Italian doctor, and I'm like,
saying this to a first timer.
I'm like,
oh,
what she
yeah.
meant to say is that once your baby is born, till they are adults, also you're not going to sleep because you're going to be worried about them. It was just very
Just
different.
put it in the perspective. for you.
They're very cut and dry,
Yeah.
and no nonsense, no drama. You can't go in and be like, so I had gestational diabetes and they put me on Diet Coke. I'm like, nobody in India would ever do that.
Yeah.
Very different. It's very, very
Yeah.
different out there. And so that little bit was this thing. It really upset me because the other part of my pregnancy which really upset me was my dad was not flying in those days. For about 30 years, he didn't fly because he had air phobia. So he was not going to be there. And in India, we are used to it that when our baby is born, the hospital waiting room is filled with family.
Yeah.
And there I was, me, my husband and my mum,
Yeah.
So that felt a bit lonely. But then we had the whole 9-yard celebrations when I came back with my son. So that was fine.
Of course.
But yeah, it was honestly, when I look back, and a lot of people say this, because people go through really tough pregnancies with, I've had my friends and some cousins go through IVF and have, premature babies and everything, and really tough times. Today, when we look back, we don't even remember it.
Yeah,
It just
you just remember the beautiful
the
moments you have with
beautiful
your babies
moments.
now.
Exactly.
I had a very similar journey actually during my first pregnancy. I was also back in Amsterdam and
Yeah.
full-time working all by myself.
Yeah.
Also had small problems in between, the
Yeah.
diabetes and other problems. So, but I think when you're going through for the first time, you get really nervous even for
Yes.
the little things.
Yeah. Like I was so nervous to make the food for my son, like the puree, because I was
Yeah.
like, so I used to buy packaged puree like Gerber,
Yeah.
because I could have, but I was like, I'll do something wrong. I'll put something which will give him a infection. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I was like, what if the apple is too raw? I don't know how much to cook it. Like and my mom yelled at me. She's like, how can you give packaged food? Like stuff like that. Second time moms are like, they're like, the babies just raise themselves almost. Like that's what I've heard. So
I actually tend to tell my older one, can you please handle him because I'm really rushing to work right now. And she's like, I'm just 8.
Yeah, so cute.
But thankfully, she's such a loving child and she's so deep in love with her brother. So they're together really.
I think it's an
really
older
healthy
sister,
too.
younger brother thing. I get it. I have a
Yeah.
younger one who's drives me nuts, but I'm always like mothering him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can. So beautiful. So I was just doing a research and I read like almost 23% of women in India experience the postpartum depression
Yeah.
during the very first few months of pregnancy. Did you experience anything like that, or did you realize that you might be going through something similar?
So actually, funnily, no, I didn't. I didn't realize, and initially I was very padded with people. So
Yeah.
my mom was there for the first 2 months, and then my mom-in-law came a few weeks into it. So I had both mother-in-law and mom with
Yeah.
me in New York. And then as soon as my son could fly, we came to Bombay to meet my dad. Again, every house was full with family, relatives, friends. Again, didn't feel it. And then within few months, my brother got married. So then we again came back for his wedding. So again, a house full of people,
Yeah.
we didn't feel it. But when my son was 10 months old, we finally moved back to India because grandparents were like, enough,
Yeah.
we want our grandchild. So y'all stay in New York if y'all want, but we want
Yeah.
our grandchild, our only grandchild from both sides. We want him here. So we moved back to India, and that's when it hit me. And because that time, then I had nurses, nannies.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, I was not occupied, and there was time for it to, and also like for us, it was a change of city. We had made such amazing friends in New York, which were like family. Your friends become family out there.
Yeah.
For my husband, he had been living there for 14 years. And when we moved back, our house was being made. So we were, living with my mom-in-law, and we were like, it was a crazy large Indian family because my mom lives in the same building. So it was like everybody was together.
Yeah.
So it was a little chaotic and very noisy compared to what we have in New York,
course.
where you don't even hear a
Completely
doorbell.
different, yes.
Yeah, and you hear like every 2 minutes a doorbell is ringing. But anyway, I think that's when I went through, maybe it was like latent all those months. I don't know, but I just didn't have time
It was too busy, yeah.
yeah, to this thing. So I went through a really low phase and a lot of factors happened, right? Like I said, all these changes, changing city,
Yes,
suddenly your body is like not feeling right and you don't know why.
Yeah.
And it's sad because you know what? There's no education about
no
it.
education.
Like right now, I'm talking about now, my son is 15, and in the last only 5 to 10 years, am I hearing people talking about menopause, perimenopause, and postnatal, postpartum depression. Those days, like for example, my mom did her first sonogram at age 60. She never done a sonogram before that, So like this is just very sad, and which is why I'm very keen to actually, it's great that you're using your platform to do this also, but very keen that we talk about these things so that other younger moms or other people can realize that it's okay, these are normal things, it happens, you know.
Yes.
Because even the men don't understand, you know.
No.
And by the way, even the men go through it.
Yes.
You know, like there's another thing that no one talks about, that even my husband went through it. Another thing that happens is you lose the sense of you and your husband, and suddenly your husband feels that he doesn't have you because you're with the baby.
Yeah.
And of course he wants you to be with the baby, but then
Yes.
he's feeling very lonely, you know, and emotionally lonely, you know. And
These
you're
are very different kind of emotions to deal with.
exactly, and you're just tired all the time, and you're snapping because you don't have the patience to be like having long chats and going for drives like you used to, you know, when you were dating or initially married. So yes, I absolutely did, and I developed. I have hereditary kind of definitely hereditary mental health issues from my great artistic side of the family, but I went through some kind of social anxiety, and I was very lucky that because my dad had been through this whole phase of air phobia, untreated and left for 30 years, that my parents came in and they were like, let's get you help. And I'm very proud of it. I talk about it all the time. So I kind of did take, I had a friend who's a dear friend of mine now, but that time she was just someone I knew. She was a therapist, and I reached out to her. I had a few episodes where I kind of passed out in social environments, and I did the whole 9 yards. I did my test, I went to psychiatrist, I started taking medication, and I'm very proud to say that I feel I'm still on the journey. I take my medication and I take therapy, not as regularly as I want to, because she's such a good friend now that I feel like we have therapy sessions on the phone, but I still make time for it separately. I can tell you now that I feel completely healed. It's taken a while, you know, and but I have no regrets. It's a part a woman goes through. We have so many hormonal changes.
And I think the biggest win is to acknowledge it.
Yes.
That you are going through something different than usual, and this is something I need to get checked and tested. What could it be?
Yeah.
You know, rather than really imposing it on other people in the family and kind of,
Absolutely.
you know, pinpoint things onto different people without really having to realize and checking what you are going through.
Absolutely.
But were there any clear signs and symptoms which made you feel there's something wrong and I need to find out why I'm feeling this way?
Yeah, I think the first sign for me was I used to feel sad. Like I was not, I would not enjoy anything, you know. I wasn't like, we'd go out, it felt like a chore. It didn't, I mean, you go out for dinner, it should be fun, right?
Yeah.
Or like if you're watching a movie, like whatever you do for fun, right? Like going out was, forget it. Like I don't want to go out only and like party or anything. That was all gone. But the only time I would feel happy would be when I would be with my baby or my like family, you know, that was it. And you know, humans are social animals, and actually it's very important to be out and social and, you know, get out of the house. I would actually have to drag myself. So those were my early signs. And then I had these 2-3 episodes. So then it was almost, I'm being honest, today in retrospect, I can tell you all this. It's not like I understood it then, you know. So like today I can tell you that there was these signs and this was the journey, but at that time I didn't understand it at all.
Did you feel that it was in some way affecting your relationship with your partner and with your baby as well?
Yeah, because you know, a bunch of things like partner for sure. You know, it was poor guy, didn't know what to say. What is going
Even
to...
they are not able to understand.
Not at all.
Happening.
They don't have the knowledge or the information. They're as young. Like my husband and me are a year apart. You know that I mean, as much knowledge. And the best is the parents. They have forgotten everything because they've had you, but they do not remember anything. And they, you know, it's just one of those. So
they don't even remember how to change the diapers
anymore.
No,
nothing. Like hum hamare time mein to, and I'm like, okay, we were. And another thing for me was I was one of my first few friends to have a baby. So like a lot of my friends were either single or had
experience
or not had children. So I was like, who do I go to? You know, like so parents are like acting like they've forgotten everything. Kids, we don't have the knowledge, and everybody's reading that book that the pregnancy book for dummies or whatever it was called, like, you know, that what to expect
What
when
to
you
expect
expect
when
when you're
you're
expecting.
expecting, yeah.
That's it. That's your Bible, okay? And so very little knowledge, but yes, I think it strained our relationship a little bit. But the good thing was that we both knew that this was not real. It was a phase. Like, we both acknowledged that.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're allowed to feel this way. We've had a baby, we've moved countries, we are, you know, my husband was changing careers.
Yeah.
Like, I was having to stay home a lot more. So my career was on a back burner at that time. I, you know, kind of took a back seat from my career for about a year. I could afford to see it was my own business. I was not in a job, so it was easy for me to do it. And my mom was there, holding fort. So, so we kind of sailed through it, you know. I would say that we only grew stronger for it.
Yeah, and
So-
I think having an understanding partner and a support system from your family and friends, that makes it a lot easier to
Yeah,
go through. And
yeah.
people who really understand you, you know.
Yeah.
And they're with you through and through. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest support you can get.
Yeah.
And you said that you've been working with your mom, with your family.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of support. I
Yeah.
can't lie. I mean, like it's not right to sit here and say these things that, oh, it was so tough, and it sounds like really first world problems, because I know so many moms in America, because I lived in New York for so long. I mean, I had a friend who had to go back to work in 8 weeks because that's what you get in America. It's so sad. Whereas in the rest of the world, like, there's so much more maternity leave.
Yeah.
And she was still feeding. Like, here, I had an overterm baby and a C-section. So I wasn't being able to feed. And I was a stay-home mom. And my friend was being able to feed, and she had to cut her supply to be able to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, right?
Yeah.
So tough, and no one to help. Like, so the baby's either in daycare or with a nanny, you know. And now this is still a privileged background.
Segment,
A girl
yeah.
from someone, like, she's a banker and comes from privilege. Can you imagine what the ones who are like working class or underprivileged? So we have the liberty and the luxury to talk about this. So, like I said, we can talk about how hard it is, but we're not even scratching the surface.
No, absolutely not. I have seen so many examples and so many deep struggles of women. I have a foundation as well where we work on maternal health, and I have been to very rural places, to villages, to slums, and I have seen the hardships women go through.
Yeah.
Young girls going through repeated pregnancies, having children at a very young age, unwanted pregnancies a lot of times, and not really knowing how to navigate this.
I think motherhood is such an neglected topic because it's just assumed.
It's just,
you know, it's just like it's a woman's job.
It's natural.
It's natural.
It is natural, but
of course.
still,
I'm just saying, like, there's no importance or no backing. Like, a man does not understand, can never understand. All these, even these sympathetic pregnancies and all I see, you know, like they talk about that men go through it or not. It's really only a woman who can understand this thing. So it is a very difficult time for women, and both when you're having the baby and then when you're going through menopause, you know, both those times are very thing.
And so important to talk about it and share your journeys with each other, because that really inspires you and learn so much from each other, you know? A lot of times the problems come from not knowing. That's the biggest problem, which I have seen. That you experience certain things, be it postpartum depression or any hardship during your pregnancy. You're preparing your body, your nutrition, anything. Majority of the problem is not having enough knowledge and awareness. And I think that has to start from a very young age. We do not prepare our daughters enough to educate them about their own bodies. And that is a big thing we are lacking as a society and as families as well. Children are much more aware because we as parents are also putting in that effort to talk about it at home, and we encourage and ask the teachers, are you going to do any educational, you know, classes around that, because I want my children to be fully educated around this. But I think when we were young, it was such a taboo to even talk about periods and smaller things. Growing up, everything came as a surprise. Be it having your first period or
Nothing. I wasn't told
being
anything.
pregnant or expecting a child and then
Nothing.
delivery. It was like full
So because our
surprise
mothers were
package.
not, I was, by the way, not even told how babies are born. So I was
That's the most basic thing, and
I had to figure it
never
out.
talked about.
No,
It's-
yeah. But now we talk to our son. We like,
do,
you know,
we
and
do.
that it's very natural, it's very normal.
Yeah.
I remember during COVID, so my son and me watched Young Sheldon together.
Yes.
And so young Sheldon, he's a twin, right?
Ah.
And his twin sister is, what's her name? Oh my God, how can I forget? Missy.
Missy.
And they turned 13 in the episode. Now, my son was also 12 or whatever, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
And she starts with baseball.
Yes, she gets a period, right?
Yeah.
So my son was very confused. But I was like, you know, the older generation would have been like, band kar do. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So we continue to watch it. So he asked me at the end, you know, he was like, I don't understand why Missy was not playing. What happened to Missy? So I explained it to him and he understood. And there's no awkwardness, nothing.
Yeah.
But till today, if I'm not feeling well during my, you know, menstrual days, and my dad will call me, I will be like, he'll be like, kya hua? Why are you sounding like this? I'm not well.
I have flu.
कुछ
Cold.
I can't say anything. उसके बाद कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकते. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not well. What happened? No, I'm just not feeling well.
Yeah.
Every month I'm not feeling well, but I can't tell my dad why. You know what I mean?
I so hear
Yeah.
you.
It's
Even
just,
I surprisingly, I watched the same episode with my daughter, and she spoke with her father, right? Like, I'm having girls' problem. She didn't say I'm having periods, right,
Yeah.
on the episode. And then she just looked at me. She's 8, and she's like, I know she's having her periods.
that's
I'm
so
like,
nice,
okay.
actually. I'm so
Yeah.
proud, you know,
Yeah.
of our kids, you know.
Indeed, and I was just so happy
Yeah.
that she's already getting that kind of education
Yeah.
and understanding the body,
Yeah.
her body, the girls go through. That phase is very important to
Actually, what you
understand.
just said now is so accurate. You said that the biggest problem is the lack of knowledge. Now, if we, for example, I think so many mistakes have been made in the past because women don't know better. Like today, it's not such a taboo topic. So if it's not a taboo topic, you're going to be able to express yourself and
Yeah.
reach out, get the help or the information to further, like, you know,
Yeah.
to know what are the next steps. So we all suffered silently, you know, like because we didn't think it was okay to ask because our parents didn't talk to us about it.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a taboo topic. So I
And
think
it could be very stressful as well. At
Yeah.
a young age, you didn't know how to handle and deal with these changes which you're going through.
yeah, like you don't even know how to. I went to a co-ed school,
Yeah.
so please understand it's like in a co-educational school, and you're suddenly getting it in your 7th or 6th or 7th or 8th standard. Like, how are you navigating that? Your parents are not talking to you about it. Your teachers are not talking to you about it. Your friends are as dumb as you.
Yeah.
What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of the educational system and the things that they've incorporated, and our kids. I mean, kids will absorb what we give them.
True.
So, you know,
And I think it's a very good thing that you're educating your son as well.
yes.
Because gender sensitization is a very, very important
Yeah.
part
Yeah.
of this all.
Yeah.
Starting from a young age, you know, educating our boys about all the changes women go through and experience, you know, and also at later stage how they can support their wives, their girlfriends,
Absolutely.
their partners, you know,
Absolutely.
during their pregnancies, and also. I'm really proud of you that you're doing that from such a
No,
young
I'll
age
tell you,
for
I have to
him.
give credit to my husband also in this.
Yeah.
And actually, that goes back to my mother-in-law. So what happened? My father-in-law used to work out of the country. So my mom-in-law kind of raised the 2 boys. You know, most of the time because he was abroad. You know, out here
Yeah.
in Bombay alone. So they were much more like. My husband was actually a very close friend of mine before we started dating. Like we were like best friends. So I remember him being the only boy in school and college where not school, I met him in college. So in college where I could tell him that it's that time of the month, you know. Whereas no one else, like not even my dad, right, or my brother, but he was chilled. So he and all the girls were very comfortable around him. And that came from, I guess, the way his mum raised him. You know?
Absolutely.
And then when we had Sumer, and anyway, schools are much more proactive now.
True.
We decided that to keep an open conversation going with our child, forever,
important,
we
yeah.
need to have open conversations at home. So
Yeah.
a lot of time my dad would be like, what are you saying in front of somebody? I'm like, we do not have any, like there's no like boundaries. Like
Yeah.
of course, if me and my husband want to have a heated argument, I request
Yeah, of
please,
course.
not in front of the child, though sometimes we slip up there also. In front of Samir, like it took me some time because I also had to break through the that generational
yeah.
what do you call training or conditioning. That when I'm, because I get very bad periods. Like since I'm 11 years old, so like nothing has changed. I'm like a teenager till today. So that 1 day or 2 days, I have a hot water bag, this and medicine. So as soon as he became old enough to understand, because when he was a kid, I'd be like, baby, not today. No, Mama's in bed, it's bad time of the month,
Yeah.
and he understands. And then he'll help me around with chores and stuff like that, Like that day I cannot be at your beck and call, then please be at mine,
Yeah.
So we, it's not an odd conversation.
No.
What I mean
No.
is, it's
part of life.
it's part of life.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like, look away, don't do this. Like whether, and I've told him also, like even in other aspects, like whether it's alcohol or smoking or whatever, like, baby, whatever you want to do, please do it with us. At whatever age you want to do it. We'll have an open conversation. Is it the right age? Is it not the right age?
Yes.
Like, will you like it?
We can have a dialogue.
And I'm like, even if you want to try it with us, then with your friends, So, I absolutely, he needs to respect women. He needs to, what they say right now, look at the situation we are in the world and in India especially, with how women are being treated, and we're in 2024, right? And women are not safe. I think it's more important to tell your boys what to not do than tell your girls what not to do.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to tell. I don't have a daughter, but I have a niece who's like a daughter. I'm not going to tell her, don't wear this, don't go out at night, don't talk in this way. I'm going to tell my son, okay, you need to be respectful of women. You cannot talk like that about a girl.
Where it needs to be fixed is at home.
Absolutely.
If we can't fix it at home, you cannot fix it at society level.
Yeah.
It's very tough.
I totally agree with you.
It has to start with right education. Conditioning your boys with right kind of education, and then we talk about laws and regulations and stricter, ways of living in a society. But I would say we at home have to work harder, rather than demanding outside first.
Absolutely. And I think as moms, it's our moral responsibility, especially with boys, to let them understand what equality really means.
True.
Because I have noticed, like that's why I said moms with boys.
Yeah.
Moms think the sun shines out of their little boys' bums.
Yeah.
Okay? We all think it. Let's be honest, right? And it's something, I mean, even I would say when I would feel like that about my daughter, but I really think I've noticed, and I know our generation is breaking this. I know we are breaking it. But like up to our parents' generation, even the mothers were giving into this mera beta and how can you talk to my son like that? And like there was so much harassment for women from the women in the family. Which used to shock me that you have a daughter who is someone else's wife, you are a wife yourself, and how am I hearing episodes and stories of women being mistreated in the houses with, you know what I mean?
By another woman.
By another woman. So I feel like that's really where we need to, like as moms, that is our responsibility. That we have to make them understand that I am a big, people ask me, are you a feminist? I'm going to answer that right here. No, I'm not a feminist. I'm a humanist. What that means is every human being has to be treated equally.
Right after you became a mom, did you take a break from work for some time?
Yes, I did. And I, again, very grateful for that. I was lucky. I could do it. I had my mom holding fort. Because, like I said, I didn't know I was going through this feeling. I just didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to be home and working for 10 years before I had my son. It was a much needed break. So I didn't even feel guilty. I was only like for a year. I was not actively working. I didn't take part in Fashion Week that year. I didn't have any events, like nothing. I didn't
Yeah.
proactively plan anything, but I kept the business running, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I took time off. I think my body really needed to heal.
Yeah.
My body took a big beating. I felt, you know, like I had put on a lot of weight. I had, I was. I had developed gestational diabetes, and I mean, I've been struggling with that. I have hereditary diabetes also, so I was struggling with that also. So I took time off, and I'm not at all this thing, and I took my time to lose the weight, and I gained it all back. All that happened, and I was thinner after I delivered than I was after that in COVID, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I was like, you know, and I see.
You were listening to your body.
I was listening to my body.
Yeah.
I
And
see.
that's a very crucial thing.
Yeah, and I mean, as you know, Priyanka, because you know you are in the public eye too, that a lot of women in the public eye, as we know, you know, so many actresses and so many, you know, people who are well-known faces get so much flack for not being in shape and all that, and women are fighting this. I'm like, I can't even believe women are doing this to other women. I mean, even men. I'm sorry, I expect better.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
First of all, it can be your choice. Have you ever thought about it? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Body autonomy,
I'm telling you all
yeah.
right now, I didn't care how I looked. Like I was, my husband didn't. My husband
That's
was okay.
fantastic. Yeah, you should be in love with yourself, and why care about
My husband
anybody
was
else's
very
sign?
okay with the way I looked, and he, you know, he is no happier or sadder because, of course, for my health, he's always worried.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't. He's okay with me at all sizes. So I'm okay. My husband's okay. Who are you?
Yeah.
Please, like, you know, please keep the weight of your opinion on yourself, you know. But unfortunately, in the world of social media, you have to turn, you know, a little thick-skinned. So I am really working towards being a happy person,
Yes.
you know, because if
That's
I'm
the
a happy
most
person, I don't, and I am. It's been a
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, so like taking a year off to heal, not wanting to go. I've had women tell me that. People think that if you don't go back to work, you're not serious about your career. You know, again, it's a choice.
It's a choice.
Why?
Completely.
Who are we to decide? You know, like quit when you want, do when you want, do it.
Yeah.
You're motivated. Some people are like, oh, she's not a good mother because she's still working after having a baby. You can't win.
Yeah.
You just can't win.
Yeah.
You know, and you didn't have a second child because you were too busy working. Yeah, my choice.
Yeah.
You know.
I was going to come to that. You know, I was reading that 1 out of 10 women, they drop working after they become moms. And of course, if it is a personal choice, it's fine and it's completely up to you. But so many of them want to come back to work. What do you suggest that women who are willing to start again, how they should approach this?
See, first of all, I have a really dear friend in the US. She's huge. Like her name is Reshma Saujani, who's fighting for the rights of women who are, you know, trying to get back into the workforce,
Yeah.
to give them more maternity leave, to give them shorter hours at work, you know, just support at work in terms of
Flexibility, yeah.
flexibility, creches,
Yeah.
support during the office, in the office space and all that. So first of all, we need a movement like that in India.
True.
You know,
True.
we need to have some kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I think now we have 6 months maternity leave, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't know the thing because recently we had a staff member where, you know, we give 6 months paid maternity
Yeah.
leave. You know, so I remember vaguely because of that. I don't know what the laws are properly. So we need to have that. I mean, we
Yes.
need some help from the government also,
Totally.
right? So we need to have some laws where we
Yeah.
can have like a longer maternity leave. We can actually have like maybe a 3-day work week or a half day, whatever is more convenient
Yeah.
to the woman, because sometimes even making the effort to go to work and back, half day is silly. It's better to do 3 days a week, you know?
Yes.
So because having a mother-child bond is very important in the first year, especially for the child, right? Providing facilities at work for the baby to be there in terms of a creche with a nanny and support,
Yeah.
so that you can go in and out. But I think the biggest thing that we need is a change in attitude, and especially first from the women themselves, because you know, I had an episode, you know, with a friend where something happened and she said that I didn't want to say something like she's a co-worker, and she didn't tell me what she was going through because she was like, I didn't think it was professional.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I was like, please let me explain to you one thing. There's nothing to be apologetic for being a human being.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you have
And for being a mom.
yeah, or anything. So, you know, like I don't know why in our country, women, okay, are not allowed to say at work that, oh, you know, like, the Gen Zs are amazing, huh? They come to me straight up. I need a mental health day off, or you know, I'm getting anxiety.
Yeah.
But
we discussed that in one of our previous episodes as well.
Yeah.
How this shift is happening.
completely. They are fully
yeah.
like, okay, like, I'm going to work from home today because I have my period.
There's no asking, there's always telling. yeah.
Chalo, I'm giving them that. I'm like, at least we are seeing the shift,
yes,
okay?
yes.
But we as women are very apologetic for our personal issues. I'm not saying I need to come with every, my cook has not shown up to work and all that. I don't have to come with everything to work. But if I need to have some, like if my baby is, there's a thing happening at school and I have to rush or whatever, I should be able to tell my boss, you know, and the boss should be able to understand.
True.
So like, I really try to, like I've explained to my, we were a women-led business and we have a lot of women working with us.
Yes.
I have a lot of women in the executive and in the labor side. And I did never say no to them when they give me any of these problems. And they know that.
True.
The only time I get upset with them is if I give them a work to do with enough time and enough instruction and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things. So I tell them, I said, you are confusing my expectation for quality work and sincerity with me actually being a compassionate and empathetic boss.
Yeah.
You're too scared to ask me for this, but
Yes.
this has never been an issue.
Yeah.
This is, when you're here 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours,
Yeah.
give me your attention. And you please talk to your family, child, that's not an issue. But so people confuse that. So I want people, so I'll give you an example. I lead by example. Many a times, my son's birthday has happened during Fashion Week. And if it's, and they ask you, right, can you do fittings on this day? Can you do a show on this day? I have declined it. And I have not made an excuse. I have told them, it's my son's birthday.
Yeah.
And I don't think I need to be embarrassed of that.
No.
Because I just told you,
You
my
know your
family comes
priorities,
first and then my career.
Yeah.
So if I am that person, why should I? And by the way, everybody's family should come first.
True. True.
If career comes first, that's your choice, then that's your choice. But mostly, why do you work?
And we need to understand that.
Yeah. And don't be apologetic for it. I work for my family, Baba. I work to make my family life better. So,
Exactly.
and for my passion. So if I'm going to be unhappy working while my son's birthday party is going on. No.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I think the women also have to kind of not be, we have to empower them to not be embarrassed to say, I want a day off for a personal reason, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So
I completely agree. I think supportive workplaces is the key to really bring women back to workforces.
So I mean, if to answer your question, sorry if I didn't, is that unfortunately everything I said was something we want and desire. It doesn't exist today, right? So I would say that when you are going back to work, be very clear with the person you're working with about what you can do and what you can't do.
True.
Don't set yourself up for failure, is my only piece of advice, you know? And don't think we're too afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And believe me, one company can't be okay with it, you can try another company.
Yeah.
Why do we feel like this is the only place I can go back to work? There are compassionate companies, there are empathetic companies, you know?
Yeah.
And so many women have found their calling by after having their babies by doing their own thing or starting their own businesses. Yeah, so why not do something like that,
Totally,
you know?
absolutely.
Push yourself out of your comfort zone.
True.
So think of an alternate
Set
career.
the expectations right with people you're working with since beginning, you know, this is what I want and this is what I can contribute to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure now you will find bosses who will support you and who will understand you. Let's talk about mom guilt.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, I think none of us have escaped this, and at some point in life we all feel it, or throughout, I don't know, I feel it throughout. How it's been for you and how have you tackled with it? Like,
So actually, I have a lovely anecdote, and I don't even think the person who said it to me will remember this. But do you remember Gayatri Joshi, the actress? So she used to be a model, and she used to
Yeah.
one of my first models and friend. And I remember when I had my son and I moved back to India. So this is 15 years back.
Yeah.
I so the first time I heard this word about
Yeah.
mom guilt, okay? So I have a defining moment when this was told to me, and that's why I'm telling you this episode. She said, instead of saying congratulations and whatever, she goes, welcome to the world of mom guilt. Like there's never going to welcome to the world of guilt, basically. And I didn't understand it because I was just a new mom and I was fully with him, so I didn't know what it meant. And I had a career, but I was giving all the time to him, so I didn't understand it. It's been 15 years, and those words of hers, and like I said, she has no idea this is the impact. She'll probably hear it on this, but she has no idea the impact that statement had on me. And actually, it helped me manage my guilt because I was pre-warned, right?
Yeah.
So how do I manage it? Let me tell you. I'll be very honest. When you're home with your child, you have work guilt, and when you're at work, you have mom guilt, right? Because it's like you're always just
The
feeling
cycle.
guilty.
Yeah.
I think the real thing to tackle is the guilt.
Yeah.
It's not about mom or work or whatever. So I have learned very, very slowly, and I'm still a work in progress, to not feel guilty about doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You have to change your mental language. You have to say that I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm fueling my passion. I'm keeping my mind healthy to be healthy for my child. Because if I was just sitting at home being resentful of the fact that I didn't have a business or a career or whatever I wanted to do, I would be irritable, and I would be irritable around my child.
Yes.
So I'm actually doing a service to momhood by coming out there and using my brain cells.
Yeah.
The second thing is I'm allowed to have, and of course they go to school, they have their own life, and they're going to have a full life after certain, like my son is already kind of bye tata at 15. Okay, now what will happen to me? There is no child guilt. The child doesn't feel guilty towards the parent. So you have to remember that you have to fill your own cup.
Yes.
And you know what, if you're well balanced, you will be able to avoid this mom guilt. So I'm home every day at 4 o'clock. That's the way I tackle my mom guilt. Yes, I am privileged, I'm allowed to be. I can work from home. And also started to notice, like, even though I was home, I was still on my phone. So now I actually dedicate, like, the 1 hour he comes back from school, like between 4 and 5, there's no phone calls. I'm like with him, what did you do at school? That conversation is very important, especially in the 10th standard and this teenage years. And then classes are going on or whatever, then it's fine. And then there's that dinner time, which is that 8 to 10 dinner and sleep time, which is no phone call time. So that's how I manage it. So I'm not, and I wake up when he's leaving for school. So I'm like, you get these 3 moments with him, which are quality moments. And you're being able to, I'm trying to do all my bhashans in those, and very subtly trying to raise this evolved human being, and like, giving him a value system in those key moments. And that's when they're sharing with you, like especially the night time when we're sleeping, and it's not like I'm putting him to sleep like a baby, but I'm just hanging out.
I think that's the most precious time you have with your
because they're really
children.
opening up to you. So that's the thing. And also I'll tell you very honestly, this mom guilt thing is also not like, I don't overdo anything. I don't leave my kid for no reason. I'm not out every night. Like I'm home, I'm around. So what is there for me to feel guilty? I am available for my son. So in the moments I'm stepping away is genuinely for like good reasons, and even if I have to go for an event or a wedding, or I'm here now in Delhi for like fashion week or whatever, I mean, it's a justified reason.
Absolutely.
And he's well taken care of, he's got family with him. So
I think we just have to be easier on ourselves.
we have to be easier on ourselves.
That's very important.
We have to realize, I'll tell you, the real guilt is when you're not being there for your child. So if you are balancing it correctly, and that balance only you know for yourself. you know.
And sometimes it can go wrong.
Of course.
This morning I was sitting in the car, I opened my phone and I was super excited. I'm going to see Payal today after such a long time, and we're going to have this fantastic conversation. So I opened WhatsApp and I saw this message in school group. Today is a fun day at school, pack your kids' swimsuit, towels, blah, blah, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And I was like, I didn't send any of that with my child. And I literally almost had tears. And thousands of thoughts rushed through my mind. And I was like, should I go back? Should I send someone with all the stuff? Should I call the teacher? Oh my God, how he must be feeling. He's left out. And it was like within few seconds, I had so much going on in my mind. And then I called the school. I was like, okay, let me figure this out. I called the school, and she's like, I forgot to send everything with my child, and I want to speak with the teacher how I can kind of fix this right now. And she's like, relax, Mrs. Raina, it is tomorrow.
That's so sweet.
Okay, then I was like so relieved. But it's like your mind is in 1,000 places. It's like, I failed my child. All the kids in the class are going to have so much fun, and mine is going to be sitting in a corner because he's not prepared. So, and then I was like, okay, thank God, thank God.
But Priyanka, what you just said has happened thousands of times to me. There are more mails from school than from work. And trust me, I got a lot of work emails. There was this Instagram post I saw, is that I've quit my job so I can answer all school emails. It's literally like that. And I am not a very involved parent in school. I'm not able to, My husband goes for a lot of the meetings or these sessions that happen, and he comes home and gives it to me. And that's the way I manage it. Because see, what happens is we both work equally in the business. But unfortunately, I'm the face of the business. So I have to go out and do more of the social work. I have to go for the event, I have to go for the interview, I have to go. So I'm a little thinly spread because of that, and I work in the office. Means I actually do the work also. So besides being the face, I have to go and sit with the karigar, sit with the staff and design and stuff.
Run the show, basically.
Yeah. So he does it. We balance each other out. I've had times when my son has shown up in uniform and colorful day and this day and hat day and all that has happened.
Dot day.
Everything has happened, or I have missed a performance, which my son is an eraser in the play. I missed it. But you know what? I don't think the children are going to think of that when they grow up. I think it's the love. I have compensated for all my mistakes or all my misgivings with tight hugs. I think the most important thing, what I have understood, is that for your child to feel loved and safe. So as long as we are keeping our children feeling loved and safe, and somebody is showing up, or like you said, you made that call, you made the effort. I think that's being a good mom, we are, forgive yourself, be a little kinder. It's not that extra involved parent in school. I'm not the parent who's knows every schedule or whatever. I'm last minute on manage back, what's going on. I'm winging it. I also think my son has become a little more independent or a little more self-sufficient because of that. And that's not a bad thing, because anyways our kids are a little bit more, way more privileged than we were.
Yeah, and they really understand, how much our parents are juggling. They understand from a very young age. That's what I have experienced.
Yes.
And I have never heard them complaining you're working or their father is traveling while you're not around, because we make sufficient efforts. And they're part of this journey. They've been supportive equally from a very young age. And as you rightly said, they become very independent. They know how to regulate their emotions, how to deal with it. And most importantly, they learn to talk very openly about their feelings, because we give them that kind of platform. So, because that is all we want to hear from them, right? When we're back to them, how it's been, how you felt.
Totally. See, now my mom, okay? She's got 40-year-olds, like my brother and me. I'm 47, my brother's 45. My mom is constantly doing things for us, even today. So, and we are fully taking advantage and fully guilting her that I told you to do this, you didn't do it, whatever. So wrong of us. But I'm just saying because we are
But I think
brats.
that's one relationship we
Yeah.
always take for granted. I don't know.
So then recently, I started becoming more compassionate even towards my mother, and she'll call me up. Like I didn't have a cook, right? So for a few days, she'll call me up like I'm feeling. So imagine this word is so ingrained in us. She'll be, I'm feeling so guilty. Y'all will have to order from out in office like lunch or whatever, because obviously lunch we like to eat home food because you go out so much, right? So I was like, why are you feeling guilty? I said we are adults. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
Why have you taken the responsibility to make sure that everybody is going to be eating home food all the time?
Yeah.
I said it's okay,
Yeah.
So as I'm learning to handle that, I am now being kinder to my mother.
Yes.
You know.
yes.
So unfortunately, I'm growing up a bit too late in life. I wish I could have been more compassionate when I was younger. I was such a brat.
Yeah, I think every phase of life teaches you different things.
Yes.
And since we're talking about your mom and you said that you're working together, so I'm very curious to know how it's been working with your mom and how that has reflected on your journey of motherhood.
So I would say that I honestly do not give enough credit to my mom, and I would like to take this opportunity to do that. I mean, she's an absolute rock star. I mean, absolute. She's 69. She's working full time in the business.
Wow.
She is like, if we can't get anything done, my brother, me, my husband, auntie will get it done. Means she can get stuff done, we can't get done. She started in the business with my dad because my dad needed help.
Yeah.
And then when I came in, she had to help me. She held fort for the 6 years I lived in New York. She held fort for the 1 year after I was, had my son. And she's just been holding fort. She's holding fort right now in Bombay while we're all in Delhi,
Yeah.
She's selfless to the bone. Her name comes in no press release, in nothing. She's not the face. Always acknowledge my dad in every press release, in every award ceremony or whatever, as being my mentor. And she, who is my business partner and who has been my support my whole life, I've never been able to she doesn't get that acknowledgement on paper, And she always tells me, when I tell her, I'm like, I always take Papa's name, not yours. She's like, but I don't care. She's just the most selfless person in that way. Very annoying also, overbearing, comes and checks my fridge. Why we ordered this, why we ordered that. I'm like, you cannot enter my fridge.
Like every mom.
Yes, okay. So it's very hilarious, our relationship, because we're sitting at work and in the same sentence there'll be like conversation of some family gossip to one client order to what's cooking for dinner. Okay, so it's all like one nice dough ball of personal and professional. We fight a lot. But now actually we've calmed down, both of us also. Like I also calmed down. She's also been like, she's mad. I can't help her anymore. But respect has just grown for me as I'm growing older. So all the things I used to think were very weird about my mom and funny about my mom, I have become without realizing. So like my husband makes fun of me, like while we're even in a restaurant, I start clearing the table. So he'll tell me, why don't you take the waiter's job? And I get that from my mom. Like after I eat and after she eats, we can't see dirty plates on the table. So I call the waiter and I'll start collecting all the plates and giving it to them. So just small things, how she takes care of every single member in the family. Like my mom is the only one amongst all both the sides of the family where she's in touch with every single family member. She will, anytime anything is there, she's like, I'll send this to this Taiji, I'll send this to this Masi, I'll send this to this, this child likes this biryani. She remembers everything.
And you really wonder, how do you do it all, right?
She's a working mom.
Yeah.
She's an extremely involved parent, extremely involved grandparent. She's the best friend you can have. Her friends swear by her, okay? She's been in the fashion industry for 50 years. Everyone who's like, from the oldest models to the makeup artist to the youngest are like, where's auntie? Nobody cares about me. Everyone wants my mom. Her chutney and egg sandwiches from the photo shoot, nobody wants to eat any other food but that. I'm telling you, she's a living legend, but nobody knows about her. And
a true inspiration for
completely. And by the way, my mom is 11th standard dropout. She dropped out of college because my father told her I'm going to fail. So she said, I don't want to go ahead without you. So she wrote an empty paper and they dropped out. But she's I make fun of her that you're such an accomplished woman, but you're only watching these Pakistani serials and Saas Bahu, like, aren't you intellectual? Why don't you want to intellectually stimulate yourself and all? And she's like, you don't act smart with your English TV serials. But I'm trying to tell you, she's such an loving, kind, hospitable, the best cook ever. She's a Leo, fiercely protective, fiercely loyal. She is like, there is not a single person she has not helped, whether it is, if she can't help with money, she'll help with her time, with food, clothes, like
whatever she can contribute.
Yeah, and I think I have become her in many ways. I've imbibed her qualities, and I try to be that person for my family. And I was telling my brother last night that they're getting old and it's our job to take the camaraderie of the family forward, because every generation has to take responsibility, and that I've learned from her. My dad's like my dad doesn't keep up with his cousins, my mom does, and also at work, to learn to kind of be a little detached. I used to get too emotional at work. So I think I've learned that from her, that to be able to have longevity in business and to be able to be in business for 50 years like her or 25 years like me, you have to be a little detached from things. Like if a garment has gone wrong, give your customer service, be apologetic, do what you can to fix it, but don't beat yourself up about it. Like you are human too. Learn that from her. And honestly, if I can be, and I'm not just saying this, if I can be half the woman she is, I think I'll be a great human.
You are a great human being, that I can vouch
for. No, believe me, I'm very flawed.
I truly admire everything you do, really.
I'm super flawed, but I am trying to be a good person. I will say that.
We were just briefly talking about WLC right before we started.
Yes.
And I'm very curious to know how you came up with this concept and what it is all about.
So it's called Women's Leadership Circle, and actually there were a few founding members who had started it. The main founder is a lady called Jaya Mehrotra, who's actually a business coach, and it was her brainchild. And she got together, a group of women who were all kind of feeling the need for a forum where women can come together as CEOs, high-level executives, entrepreneurs, because we all feel it's kind of lonely at the top, and it's a very male, kind of dominated space. Like we are a minority. Like I was telling you, there's 1% representation of women in boardrooms. So they were looking at creating a network for women where we can come in and have, a safe space to be able to help each other, to uplift each other in terms of like not just upskilling, but even like sharing our problems. So we have created forums also, and we want to bring more women into boardrooms. So when they approached me, actually they came to me to do an event, and I loved what they were talking about, and they were looking for a few more founder members, and I could have joined as an executive member too, but I said no, as a founder member you have to do the work. I said I want to do the work, so I want to join as a founder member. So I'm one of the 12 founder members in that organization, and they just recently gave me PR chair, because we have to now kind of let more women know about this forum, so that we can help more women, to it. It's in the first year. It's a baby, but what we're really excited about is that it's a little different. It's not just networking. It's actually not at all networking. It is helping women to have a voice and to have, they're very smart, very, very accomplished women who feel conscious or feel like they are belittled or shut down in male-dominated rooms, whether it's a boardroom or it's a meeting or whatever. And they know what they're saying is correct, but they're finding it difficult to articulate it, or they're afraid to say it because they think someone will say something. And that person who will even shut them down will probably say something incorrect, but not. So we're trying to kind of give them that voice. So we do a lot of classes and courses to help them to get, so everything from holistic approach to an actual educational aspect. So we are working a lot with upskilling, teaching, lots of master classes. We have mentors from the industry and a lot of mentors who are even men. So it's not just women. Like one of our great mentors is Mr. Vivek Gambhir. He has helped to make the constitution also, and it's a very, very well thought through kind of organization. We're trying to also create kind of leadership programs. So besides mentorship, leadership programs, we're trying to help women do their MBAs, like sign up for programs, and we do it together. There's so much in the pipeline. We're also trying to work on a proper white paper led women's awards for true women achievers. And it's not about glamour, nothing like that. We have so many unrecognized women who are doing fantastic work in our country, and we want them to come into the forefront. Really just want to be part of this movement. It is just something I'm so passionate about, and we have great women on our thing. Every time I do a WLC event, a meeting or whatever, I come out smiling. That's the kind of energy that is in that room. Women can be really mean to other women. I have noticed this, as we were discussing earlier, that even at home or whatever. And it pains me. And that's why I love being part of WLC, because it's one of the places I go and I actually feel like these women. Another interesting thing is, when you are moving up in your career, right? What happens is, you either have your school, college friends, or your peers, your friends, who don't understand your work or your business, and they're giving you advice from a place of no knowledge. Or then you have people in your industry who are technically your competitors. So they're not giving you the best advice because they may not have the best intentions, or they may have ulterior motives. Like they say, now your closest people put nazar on you, right? But here we are a diverse group of women, so we feel that it is educated advice, well-informed advice, and it is not competitive advice. So that's another thing that we have been able to create in this space.
I think it's a fantastic initiative. Lots of success.
Thank you.
And now a question which is coming from my personal experience, and I really want to know from you. As you said, finding your calling, and you found it at a very young age, when you were just 15, that you want to go into fashion designing and arts and creativity. Now, young children who I see are naturally inclined towards creative stuff and arts, there might be a lot of unknowns for parents, like, is this the career for them to follow? And if they wish to go into that line or that path, are there enough possibilities, and how can we, really help children navigate that?
So funny you asked me this question, because I am that person. So more than giving you an answer, I want that answer. Give you an example. My son has been making films since he was 3 years old, and he wants to be a filmmaker. I got lucky, like me. He understood his passion and talent, because it's very interesting, because when we met the counselor, he said sometimes, because when you do the biometrics test or whatever, the test, that your aptitude test, sometimes your passion and your aptitude are not matching or aligned, like you can have a passion for art, but your aptitude says science, something like that. My son's was aligned, of course, and as was mine, so from a very young age, my son knows that he wants to be a filmmaker. Now, as you can understand, as an entrepreneur, as someone who works very closely with the film industry, I know what a fickle, insecure, unstable industry it can be for newcomers. So we're currently going through this whole thing where my son wants to get into the films, and I am actually trying to navigate it to see whether I should give the right advice and push him for that, or let him do like liberal arts or a business undergrad and then specialize in film. There's a lot of mixed opinions. But you know what? I decided that I don't think we should micromanage our children. I think really each child, that's what we're doing, I feel, as a generation wrong. because we are doing some things better than our parents.
Yes.
But then some things I think we are taking this thing too seriously.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's where we
I
need to
agree.
pull back and let the child have his and her own struggles or their own
And figure things
out on their own.
Yeah.
So if I can't pad him, like I'm making him into a bubble boy, and that's actually bad for him.
True.
So when I had that realization, and it was honestly just a few years back, you know, because till then he was a baby, right? So that was my job, to
Yeah.
pad him and bubble him. But now I realize that I'm actually doing him a disservice. So like I need him to have a few failures. I
Yes.
need him to get a few no's
Yeah.
and to hear, like he doesn't know what disappointment means. He doesn't know how to take that. So a little bit of struggle, not a little bit, struggle is what creates character. So I don't want my child to have no character.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm now
You
not
want to
going
prepare
to.
them for outside world,
Yeah.
right?
As a parent, I think our role or our responsibility is just to let them know what are the options out there and what comes with the territory.
True.
That's what I'm going to do. You know, because I do feel just putting all your eggs in filmmaking as one basket is a little nerve-wracking to me,
Yeah.
because, you know, I mean, I think my son is a great filmmaker, but I don't know how the world will perceive it, right? So, you know, I feel like you should have a backup plan, or you should have a full education.
Yes.
You can always use, because education, I'm very pro, education has to be on the table
Yeah.
as parents. And after that, what you do with it, I'm going to allow you to do your own journey.
So we have a segment on the show we call the Q&A from our community.
Okay.
And we receive a lot of questions and usually pick out one question which we would like to ask our guests.
Okay.
So I have a question for you which I
Okay.
would like to ask you. I have got a question from Rachita, and she asks, what's your best tip for balancing creativity, career and family life? How do you stay inspired while managing it all?
So actually, you know, I used to think that multitasking is a virtue.
Yeah.
And I have understood now that doing one thing at a time is actually the virtue.
Yeah.
So how do I balance it? Is by doing one thing at a time and dividing my day according to those exactly the three things. You know, so I do need that time for creativity, because that's what's the core of the business.
Yes.
You know, I have, as I explained to you, I have created pockets of time for my family life and my son.
Yes.
And I have to look at the business side also, you know, so I have created hours. So morning is high productivity time, so that's for the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Then, you know, when I'm feeling a little like tired or whatever is when I try to spend more time in my creative zone, you know, and then family life, like I said, we have pockets of that. And, you know, when you love what you do,
Yeah.
you will have low moments, and you will have times when you feel like uninspired, or I don't want to do this, I want to give up. But just recognizing that that is just a phase,
Yeah.
and not something you need to dwell on. I'm very grateful that
Yeah.
I have my health, my parents are there, my son has 10 toes and 10 fingers. You know what I mean? These are
Yeah.
basics that people take
Yeah.
for granted. I have a roof over my head. I have a
happy
husband
family, yeah.
who likes me at every size. So I'm just saying these are very big things to be
Yeah.
grateful for. And I think that's why I wake up happy. And this thing, maybe during the day it dips, believe me, with all the extra distractions and annoyances. But that's how I keep myself motivated, because it's just, I think when you're grateful for what you
Yeah.
have, even if you have a bad day, you know it's just a phase and you have to get out of it.
Yes.
And the days, don't give in to it. That's my one advice. Don't give in to those bad moments. Just
Yeah.
treat them as what they are. Like, a very interesting thing I heard once is that, would you let a robber come into your house and rob you? Would you open the door and say, "Aye, rob kariye"? No, right?
No.
So why would you let them do it in your mind?
Yeah.
So just treat it as what it is, a bad day.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a very powerful advice and very useful advice. I also have gone through those phases where I used to embrace multitasking. Oh, I can do it all. But it really got me at some point.
yeah.
and then I'm like, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Even if some things are lagging behind, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to just let that be. For
Yeah.
me, my health and my mental peace is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then rest comes,
Absolutely.
So I can totally relate with that. And we need to stop glorifying the multitasking and juggling all the time.
Absolutely.
I think we had such a lovely conversation today. It's been such a beautiful chat. Mom to mom.
I know.
And working mom to a working mom.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I really enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. But after all the intense discussions, I want to move on to a fun segment where I will be asking you a number of questions, and let's make it like a rapid fire. We are about to dive into a rapid fire trivia game, fashion or family fast facts, okay? So I'll ask you a mix of fun questions about your life in fashion and as a mom.
Okay.
And if you could give me quick answers.
Sure, I'll
no
try.
overthinking.
No.
All right, Payal, let's go. What's harder to manage, fashion deadlines or family schedules?
For me, I would say fashion deadlines,
Yeah.
because I'm a procrastinator. So
What's your child's favorite outfit that you designed for them? Have you?
right now, my child's favorite outfit is torn vintage clothes. So nothing I designed. So,
Oh.
but yeah, he's
You've
not.
designed very beautiful clothes for my children. In fact, for his very special day, for his Mundan, you designed his kurta
Yes.
and my daughter's lehenga.
But
and
enjoy it, Priyanka,
I
while you
loved
can
it.
dress them. Let them become older. So
That is already passing for my daughter, by the way.
yes.
Which requires more creativity? Designing a new collection or keeping your kids entertained on a rainy day?
Keeping your kids entertained on a rainy
oh
day.
God,
My God, that definitely needs more creativity.
I completely fail at that,
Yeah.
to be honest, most of the time.
For sure. Collection comes to me like
Yeah,
this.
it's natural.
Yeah.
So when do you feel more pressure, before a big fashion show or during a family event?
Before a big fashion show. Yeah.
Which you're having tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm really excited for that. What's your go-to family activity when you need a break from work?
My husband, me, and my son watching a really good murder mystery together. That's absolutely our favorite. And eating food in bed,
All the
which my husband
mysteries,
hates.
yeah.
So,
Who's harder to please, your kids or your clients?
my kid,
Yeah.
for sure. He thinks his mom is nothing cool. And so, yeah, my kid is very hard to please.
If your kids were to describe your fashion sense in one word, what would it be?
I think my son would say weird.
Uh,
He's like, it's just weird. So, yeah, I think
but
that's
I'm
what
sure
he'd say.
deep down he really appreciates it. They do.
Yeah, I hope so. So,
What's more satisfying, finishing a fashion collection or spending a day with your family?
I mean, spending a day with my family for sure.
Absolutely. If you had to design an outfit for your kids inspired by one of their favorite thing, what would it be?
Well, I think for my son, it would be a giant Fortnite remote control, which would be on his, T-shirt, or he would be the remote control, because right now he's 15, and that's like the obsession. So, but yeah, that would be it.
What's the best lesson you have learned from motherhood that you apply to your career?
I think patience.
Yes.
I was an extremely impatient human, and in 15 years, I've learned the virtue of patience,
Yes.
because children teach you that, because you love them so much, you want to, you snap as little as you can.
Yeah.
So,
I think that is the very first and most important quality you discover,
yeah.
how patient you become.
Yeah. Like, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an impatient, I can't explain it. It's like, I'm just very fast. Patience also means to endure
Yes.
these very difficult, annoying conversations and not making expressions.
Yeah.
So that also from, motherhood.
All right. Thank you for all the
Thank
wonderful
you.
answers. I think I really enjoyed it. and can relate with a lot of answers completely. Thank you so much, Payal, for being here today. And I really want to congratulate you for completing 25 years in the industry and on your brand Payal Singhal. And I think it's been such a delightful conversation about motherhood, balancing career, and managing the mom guilt, most importantly. So thank you for being so open about it and sharing your journey with us. I'm sure it's going to be very insightful, very inspiring for a lot of moms out there.
I mean, thank you for having me, for thinking of me. I'm truly honored and humbled. And I mean, the conversation flowed so beautifully because, you know, you're such an amazing person and I wanted to share. So thank you. Thank you for that comfort level.
Thank you for being such a fantastic Maate on Maatehood and sharing your journey with us. And here I have a little hamper for you from Maate.
My favorite. My favorite.
Thank
I have
you.
received, this one is bigger
You feel the
and
weight
better
now?
than the Coffee with Karan hamper. I just want to say so. And I just also want to say that I have received Maate once from Priyanka and I have used it very selfishly and not given it to my son. And I don't know why it's just for children. This product should be for adults
Soon,
too.
hopefully soon. Soon for Maates as well.
Yes, exactly.
100%. Thank you, Payal.
Thank you for this.